She was the villain.
How was she dangerous?
Because of the need for her to rehabilitate her image.
They really hate each other now, and they cannot hide it anymore.
Harry was not in love with Meghan Markle.
He was madly in love. The veil is now lifting.
Harry and Meghan are back in Britain this month. Vans are booked, school places are reportedly taken, and the whole move has people talking. But on Thursday night, a woman who had apparently spent 8 days watching the calendar finally said it out loud. Lady Colin Campbell says he is not coming home. She claims he is running. Before getting into what she believes he is running from, look at how the country he chose over Britain has now turned the whole situation into a punchline.
Lady Colin Campbell, what on earth is going on? Just weeks after you revealed to the world this close, shall we say, friendship that Prince Harry had developed with a certain young lady in Montecito, they claim to be packing their bags.
The New York Post put it on the front page. Our long national nightmare is over. Harry and Meghan returning to the UK after failing to take the colonies. That headline alone shows just how sharp the reaction has become. An American comic pushed the joke even further. We finally found a deportation, he said, that all Americans agree on. That is the kind of send-off being thrown around now. No grand farewell, no thank you note, just a shrug and a street party atmosphere. And back in Britain, the criticism is getting harder to ignore.
This whole situation is very interesting because once Meghan and those children are back in the United Kingdom, that means that the marital home is in the United Kingdom. That means that Harry is in a far stronger position in terms of any future place where, in the event of a permanent separation.
Oh, yes.
Neil Sean went on American television and summed up the entire 6-year experiment with 2 blunt words: broke and busted. Tom Bower, who has spent years examining the couple and their public battles, says Harry lives in a fantasy world and called him a blunderbuss. His prediction is that the fall of the Sussexes could become the bigger story, and according to him, there is only one direction this can go. Angela Levin says they are horrendous, calling the situation ruthless and describing it as war. She also claims they have been lying throughout the entire saga. Robert Jobson has even given this latest chapter a name. We had Megxit.
He took Meghan and the kids, they came over privately to see the King a few weeks ago. When she said, "I'll never set foot in this country again," and when she said the royal family is racist, and when she slagged off almost every bit of the institution, why does she still want her daughter and son to be a prince and princess then? Part of a racist institution.
Now, he says it is regrexit, and his reasoning for why Harry might accept a small royal role if one were offered is brutally simple. He would take it, Jobson said, and the reason is obvious. It beats selling jam. He went even further, saying I wouldn't have the pair of them back in this country at all. That is a seriously sharp reaction. The criticism gets even more awkward when you consider the timing. After years of public arguments and accusations surrounding Britain, Harry and Meghan are now reportedly preparing to spend more time here.
Harry is only coming back because he's got nothing to do in California. He's coming back because he's trying desperately to somehow rebuild a life here. It isn't going to work. Not only has he got nowhere to live, but these charities, the Well Child, it's all that's piffling. It's nothing in terms of the real charities. And Invictus.
That contrast is exactly what has critics raising their eyebrows. So, that is the atmosphere they would be walking into. The question is no longer simply whether they should return. The bigger question is why they would want to come back now. And that brings us straight back to Lady C. Her account goes like this. She says information was given to her from the 12th of August, but she kept quiet, with the final update arriving on the morning she went on air.
He's got no important, he can do everything on the telephone or on the Zoom. He doesn't need to be back. No, this is Harry desperately trying to find and build a new life in Britain.
According to her, on the 11th of August, she was told there had been a meeting involving federal authorities in America. She claims officials were reviewing paperwork Harry had submitted around 2021 for entry into the United States. Her words were that there was a strong belief by the feds that Harry had lied on his paperwork. Then came the sentence that put the entire story under a giant spotlight. She claimed that if they did not leave, he would be pushed out, and that officials could not risk the embarrassment of him potentially being arrested.
Meghan's jam failed to sell out. Her season 2 of her cooking show was an absolute disaster. And this man, I think, will be asking Dad for a little bit more money.
But before anyone treats that as established fact, there is an important distinction. This is Lady C's claim, made on her own show and in her own words. She did not identify a document, name an official, or point to any charge against Harry. She said she had waited 8 days before speaking publicly and presented specific dates, but the underlying allegation remains unverified. Now look at the timeline she described. Nothing on the 10th.
Very, very quickly. I only see bad things on the horizon, and I think also he's trying to get back in with the king because he knows he'll never be able to get back in with William.
A meeting with federal officers on the 11th, followed by what she described as a family pact, and then reports appearing in 2 national newspapers by the 20th, 8 or 9 days, as she put it. And right there is the hole in the story, and it is better to point it out before anyone else does. On that same programme, that same night, the host brought up Tom Sykes, who reportedly has a chapter claiming Harry had been planning the move for months.
I have been fed information starting on the 12th of August, which I have kept stum about because I felt it was irresponsible of me to do anything in terms of revealing what was going on.
Sykes says a friend told him in the spring that Harry was already looking at houses. Months of planning and 8 days of panic cannot both be true. So which story is it? That is the question hanging over this entire saga. Whatever you believe about the federal claims, 3 other people examined the situation that Thursday. A broadcaster, a tax expert, and the officer who once protected Harry. None of them seemed convinced by the explanation being offered.
Harry and Meghan, it's all cock and bull. They're not moving back to the United Kingdom because they want to.
And strangely enough, they all kept circling back to the same thing. A calendar! The broadcaster went first. On Fox News, Neil Sean delivered one of the bluntest verdicts of the day. They can frame it any way they want. He said, "The bottom line, they are broke and busted. Didn't work." He then pointed to what he believes was the turning point, Harry's legal battle involving the Daily Mail. Sean's view is that Harry expected to win, believed the case could change everything, and expected a major financial payoff. When that did not happen, Sean argued, the decision to return became much more likely.
Moving back to the United Kingdom because Harry is endangered as a result of the feds. On the 11th of August, there was a meeting with the feds where they were inquiring into paperwork that he submitted. I mean, I don't have my notes in front of me, but I think it was in 2021.
Now put that beside a detail Robert Jobson mentioned on Thursday. The costs from that failed case were reportedly expected to come due the following morning. The homecoming story appeared Wednesday night. The bill was expected Friday. That timing certainly raises questions. Then there is the business side. On the As Ever website that week, 2 candles and a box of matches were reportedly listed for $128. Whatever you think of the Sussex brand, that price was always going to get people talking. Tom Bower's summary was blunt.
About his visa entry, and that there is a strong belief by the feds that Harry lied on his paperwork to be able to gain admission to the United States as, I suppose you could say, semi-permanent resident.
They're pretty well burnt out in California, he said, and they are going to run out of money themselves before very long. Jobson then pointed to what he believes is the bigger problem. They never made their money through original ideas, he said. They made all their money by selling out the royal family. 6 years, countless headlines, and a business built largely around their royal story. Now critics are asking what is actually left. Even some supporters appeared confused, questioning why 2 people who have publicly criticised Britain are now reportedly looking at a return. Then came a striking comment from Daisy McAndrew. There were champagne corks popping up and down Fleet Street, she said. Them coming back will make a lot of people money. It is a sharp observation. plenty of people can profit from the Sussex story, even when the couple themselves face questions about what comes next.
Basically, they can frame it any way they want, right, Hainsley? The bottom line is they're back, broke and busted. It didn't work. The idea hasn't come along. And the really turning point that a lot of people should look at in this long-going narrative, and you do not believe that this only happened on Sunday. You do not organise schools and all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. This has been going on for a long time, right? I mean, as a mum, it's not easy, right? So this has been going on a long time.
But the most interesting comment that Thursday did not come from a royal commentator. It came from an accountant. Nimish Shah, chief executive of London tax firm Blick Rothenberg, deals with tax rather than royal gossip. And when he examined the timing, he used one very specific word: immaculate. His full comment was, "It's good to see Harry and Meghan achieve 6 full tax years of non-UK residency to manage the temporary non-resident rules for capital gains tax. They have clearly had some good tax advice, and the timing of the move back to the UK is immaculate."
Turning point for this really happened with Associated News Limited. This was, of course, the big Daily Mail case that Harry believed he was going to win. This, he was told, was going to solve everything. He was the dragon slayer. He was going to have so much money. When that didn't work out, that was the final decision.
That sentence deserves a closer look. There are UK tax rules designed to prevent wealthy people from leaving the country, realising gains while abroad, and then returning without facing the intended tax consequences. And the timing here is exactly why questions are being raised. Leave and return within 5 years, and the tax rules can treat you as though you never left. Stay away for longer, 6 complete tax years, and the situation changes. 6 complete tax years. Keep that number in mind. They left in March 2020.
What I can tell you first, though, Ainsley, is you will notice it's all about Harry returning back. Meghan remains very silent, and I've been told from an excellent source, rather, shall we say, concerned about not only a welcome over here in the United Kingdom, and I think that's a bit harsh, but you have to say everything she's done has actually turned to dust.
The tax year ended on April 5, just weeks later, and that started the clock. The 6th tax year was completed this April. Then, in August 2026, the family reportedly returns to Britain, just months into the 7th tax year. The timing is certainly striking. Lady C reached a similar conclusion from her own sources. She said a friend, who was not connected to royal circles, contacted her the night before. Her reaction was surprisingly complimentary.
I was informed of this, and I would imagine, and I was actually also invited to approach people in the United Kingdom for them to raise questions which would in fact assure the feds of having further backup as to the possibility and the feasibility of, in fact, arresting Harry and depriving him. And I've been receiving lots of information about this starting on the 12th of August.
You can't really knock them for being so clever, she said. In a funny sort of way, you have to admire them for being so clever. She also gave the pattern a memorable label, describing it as a Meghanian stunt, creating a situation and then making a move at the last possible moment that changes the outcome. But none of that necessarily means a rule was broken. In fact, that is precisely why the argument is so controversial. The basic tax principle is available to anyone who qualifies and receives proper professional advice. The question is whether the timing was deliberate. Critics see a carefully watched calendar. Supporters can simply point to a family making a major move. And now, there is another issue: security.
Harry and Meghan have understood that if they didn't jump, he was going to be pushed, and they could not afford the embarrassment of him possibly being arrested. While now, if he's no longer living in America, I think they are hoping that the whole thing will go away.
6 years away, major legal battles, and Harry still did not receive the protection he wanted. Tom Sykes examined the court papers and argued that the reason is straightforward. Harry is not automatically part of the group entitled to taxpayer-funded protection, and living outside the UK was one factor in that situation. Sykes then raised the possibility that returning could change the picture. If Harry lives in Britain and takes on even a minor public role, he could potentially meet different criteria for security.
Sources say he naturally welcomes the opportunity to see more of the Sussex family in a personal and private capacity, but the King is clear that there will be no alteration to the Duke and Duchess's role and status as private individuals and non-working royals in keeping with their clearly expressed wishes and agreement over past years. There is no half-in, half-out option. Now, this is the King being weak. I'm just going to say it because the mainstream media will not say it. He says, in keeping with their clearly expressed wishes and agreements over past years. Yeah, they've changed their mind. They've changed their mind, Richard, because they realise they're not making the money.
And that is where this whole return becomes even more complicated. That is the theory being put forward. One address, one small role, and potentially a major change in the security debate. Critics argue that meeting certain conditions could affect how protection is handled, with estimates ranging from millions of dollars a year. And importantly, those costs would depend on the actual rules and decisions involved, not simply a postcode. Robert Jobson puts the potential figure even higher, suggesting it could mean around $4 million less on Harry's security bill. Then he added another detail that raises eyebrows. Meghan might not necessarily be included in the same arrangement. And if you think that possibility is completely off the table, look at the wording reported by The Sunday. The opening line was clear. No public money. No official royal duties of any kind. But the next part reportedly left a door open.
I'm interested in what you think or how you think these grifters are going to make a living. I mean, how are they going to make money in the UK apart from a book? Round-the-clock security, as we know, is massively expensive. They're not apparently selling the Montecito mansion for $15 million. So, you know, the cynics are going to go, oh, my God, are the royal family / taxpayer paying for this? I hope not. I can't imagine William allowing that.
If discussions about a role happened later, they would need to take place between Harry and his father. Jobson has seen this kind of situation before. The King gave Harry an inch, he said, and Harry has taken about 50 yards. That is a brutal way of describing the tension. 6 years ago, Harry and Meghan repeatedly raised concerns about their safety in Britain. There were warnings about threats, attacks, and hostility. Now, according to Sykes, Britain suddenly appears safe enough for a return. That contrast has stunned Di Davies, who previously ran the Royal Protection Command. He was reportedly asked to appear on air at midnight, but declined, saying he was too shocked to discuss it. Davies said, after 6 years of Harry telling the world this country was not safe for his wife and children, he described the change as a 100% U-turn and asked the obvious question, what on earth is going on?
Does not make any sense. These two are hugely unpopular characters. Look at their popularity ratings. The British public is not in a position to being ready to be won round on the issue of Meghan and Harry. I mean, it's not. It's going to be massively unpopular. It's going to be hugely destabilising for the monarchy. It's going to present massive threat to William and Catherine, and it's also could present a problem to a future King George VII.
Then Davies turned his criticism toward the palace. He said someone had already been examining the entire security picture, from homes to schools and everything in between. So when he heard the official suggestion that nobody at the palace knew anything until Sunday, his response was blunt. It beggars belief. Then came the number that really grabbed attention. Davies said there are more than 1,000 fixated individuals in Britain, with around 20% considered a potential threat. He had also seen polls suggesting roughly 85% of people opposed the return, but he did not present that as proof of danger. He presented it as part of a wider security assessment. There could now be all manner of threats, he warned, that authorities would have to consider. Think about that for a moment. The controversy surrounding their return could create additional security concerns, and those concerns potentially come with a huge price tag. Davies said the cost could run into many millions, while the technical work required to secure a home would be extensive and could not simply happen overnight. Meanwhile, the security review reportedly faces another complication.
The other side of it is that, Meghan herself, and this is my belief, I think you will see more of her going out to their Portuguese home, this holiday let that they have. I don't think she'll base herself in the rainy, drainy Cotswolds that we're going to have this weather today, Ainsley. She's not going to enjoy it. Part of the problem, though, is, what will she fill her time with? Because a lot of the relationships that she had over here.
Daisy McAndrew explained that the Home Office already has a heavy workload because several former Prime Ministers require significant protection. Harry would effectively be joining an existing queue. The Home Secretary has not changed his position either, and Harry's current security status remains unchanged, according to reports. Davies then aimed his harshest criticism at those advising Harry. Whoever is advising them needs to rethink their structure and their professionalism, he said. This is nonsensical. That is a serious accusation. But now comes the really interesting part. What the public was told before the latest developments does not seem to match what is being said now. Hannah Furness, royal editor of The Telegraph, pointed to that shift. It wasn't that long ago, she said, that sources in his camp were saying he's never been happier. He's learning to surf. He loves his life.
Meghan's wanted to make her money for a long time, so she'll use everything there. She'll have many more things to take care of. It will make people feel that this is also what the king has done because the relationship wasn't very good. And they will carry on doing this and making it more and more worse for the king. I think it's terrible. I think it will make him quite ill. I think it will make Catherine quite ill because Meghan's going to go up to her and pretend that they're friends again. And, oh, hello, hi there. And Meghan and Catherine, I don't know how she will deal with it.
That was the picture being presented. The message was that Harry and Meghan had moved on completely and had no desire to look back at Britain, learning to surf, enjoying California, and supposedly leaving the past behind. But then, according to Hannah Furness, the messaging suddenly changed. Angela Levin summed up the entire shift in one brutal line. A man who walked away from his family, strongly criticised them, and appeared determined to stay away, has now suddenly changed direction. Furness is careful with her wording. She does not rely on wild theories, which makes her next comment especially interesting. There may be financial things, she said. There may be visa things, and there may be things that haven't been part of this conversation so far. Then she added, nothing about it makes perfect sense. That is the royal editor of the newspaper that broke the story openly, saying the explanation does not completely add up. She also questioned the idea that the palace knew nothing until Sunday. Furness said she would be surprised if Charles and his team had no idea something was being planned, especially after Harry and his father reportedly met for tea in July. Then there is the couple's history with media briefings. Tom Sykes pointed to previous examples where claims later became disputed. There was the reported Kardashian connection that never materialized, and the claim about a private wedding ceremony days before the official event, which the Archbishop of Canterbury reportedly rejected as legally impossible. So, what is being briefed now? Page 6 reported that Harry wants to be closer to the king, and that the children could build relationships with their cousins. Lady C, however, was quick to challenge that explanation. Robert Jobson has been keeping count. 3 meetings with his son in 6 years, he says, and only 2 reported meetings with the grandchildren. Twice. Now those same children are being presented as a major reason for the family's return. Jobson has an even harsher description for how the relationship reached this point. Treachery. He points to months of secret filming and claims material was produced behind the King's and William's backs before being sold for a substantial sum. Ailsa Anderson, former press secretary to the late Queen, also questioned the significance of the July meeting. She said it was no grand reunion, with no photographs and little public detail beyond confirmation that it happened. They tested the waters, she said. Then 2 newspapers reportedly published their stories within the same hour, both presenting them as world exclusives. That timing certainly raises questions. So let's count it. 5 people, 5 different programs, 1 Thursday. Lady Colin Campbell says Harry is running from a federal investigation. A broadcaster says the Sussexes are broke and busted. A tax advisor calls the timing immaculate. The former head of Royal Protection says the situation beggars belief. And the royal editor behind the original report says nothing about it makes perfect sense. different explanations, but several keep pointing toward the same period. And that is what makes this story so unusual. After 6 years of Oprah, Netflix, a book, legal battles, and endless competing versions of events, the debate has shifted. Instead of arguing over one explanation, people are now asking which explanation actually holds up. When a story has this many unanswered questions, the mystery becomes bigger than the headline. And right now, that mystery is exactly what has everyone watching the calendar. A man who misses his father books a flight. This story, however, appears to have waited for a tax year to close, 6 full years to the month before the move was announced. That timing is exactly why so many questions are being asked. Lady C gets the final word, and her description is certainly memorable. The way this family deals with them, she said, is to let go and let God, and give them enough rope to hang themselves with. Her words capture the frustration surrounding the entire saga. Here they are, reportedly returning to Britain after 6 years away. But the big question remains, what changed? 6 years ago, they publicly explained why they were leaving through interviews, documentaries, and a book. Yet the reason for coming back still has not been explained with the same clarity. 9 people reportedly weighed in on Thursday, and none could provide a definitive answer. If they do return at the end of this month, their first photograph on British soil could become a major media moment. And that alone could reignite the entire story. So now it's your turn. Which explanation do you believe, the federal claims or the calendar theory? Drop your verdict in the comments. I want to hear what you think. If you enjoyed the story, hit the like button. It helps the channel reach more viewers interested in these stories. And subscribe for more updates, because the next chapter could be even more revealing. Who will be waiting when they arrive? And what happens next?